Welcome back. We're reading the Bible, and we're on Leviticus 25, verse 50, okay? And he must reckon with his purchaser from the year he sold himself to him till the Jubilee year, and the money of his sale must correspond with the number of years. The way workdays of a hired laborer are reckoned, he should continue with him. If there are yet many years, he should in proportion to them pay his repurchase price over from the money of his purchase. But if only a few remain of the years until the Jubilee year, he must then make a calculation for himself. In proportion to the years of his, he should pay over his repurchase price. He should continue with him like a hired laborer from year to year. He may not tread him down with tyranny before your eyes. However, if he cannot buy himself back on these terms, he must then go out in the year of Jubilee, his and his sons with him. For to me the sons of Israel are slaves, and they are my slaves, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am Jehovah your God. So they use the slave term as well. Okay, we're in Leviticus 26 now. You must not make valueless gods for yourselves, and you must not set up a carved image or sacred pillar for yourselves, and you must not put a stone as a showpiece in your land in order to bow down toward it. For I am Jehovah your God. You should keep my Sabbath and stand in awe of my sanctuary. I am Jehovah. If you continue walking in my statutes, and keep my commandments, and you do carry them out, I shall also certainly give your showers of rain at their proper time. And the land will indeed give its yield, and the tree of the field will give its fruit, and your threshing will certainly reach to your grape gathering, and the grape gathering will reach to the sowing of seed, and you will indeed eat your bread to satisfaction and dwell in security in your land. And I will put peace in the land, and you will indeed lie down, with no one making you tremble. And I will make the injurious wild beast cease out of the land, and a sword will not pass through your land. So it's almost like if you've done well, you'll have peace in your land. And if you've done really bad, you're going to have problems in your land. I think America should think about that, especially now with the riots. What type of life have they created for people in their population to cause them to want to burn it down? And you will certainly chase your enemies, and they will indeed fall before you by the sword. And 5 of you will certainly chase 100, and 100 of you will chase 10,000. And your enemies will indeed fall before you by the sword. And I will turn myself to you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, and I will carry out my covenant with you. And you will certainly eat the old the preceding year, and you will bring out the old ahead of the new. And I shall certainly put my tabernacle in the midst of you, and my soul will not abhor you. I shall indeed walk in the midst of you, and prove myself your God. And you, on your part, will prove yourselves my people. I am Jehovah your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt from acting as slaves to them. And I proceeded to break the bars of your yoke and make you walk erect. Break the bars of your yoke. That's actually phrased pretty nicely. However, if you will not listen to me, nor do all these commandments, and if you will reject my statutes, and if your souls will abhor my judicial decisions, so as not to do all my commandments, to the extent of your violating my covenant, then I, for my part, shall do the following to you, and punishment I shall certainly bring upon you: disturbance with tuberculosis, and burning fever, causing the eyes to fail, and making the soul pine away. See, they didn't have the word tuberculosis back then. And they don't know if it was tuberculosis that they had back then, and I know that they're going to give me some citation about it, but I don't think you should put a specific disease name in the Bible, because that tuberculosis might have genetically mutated. I think it's, do you call it genetic mutation or just mutation? But we don't know if that was the same disease. And you will simply sow your seed for nothing, as your enemies will certainly eat it up. And I shall indeed set my face against you, and you will certainly be defeated before your enemies. And those who hate you will just tread down upon you, and you will actually flee when no one is pursuing you. If though, despite these things, you will not listen to me, I shall then have to chastise you 7 times, as much for your sins, and I shall have to break the pride of your strength, and make your heavens like iron, and your earth like copper. Okay, this is very cool. I like that one. And your power will simply be expended for nothing, as your earth will not give its yield, and the tree of the earth will not give its fruit. But if you keep walking in opposition to me and not wishing to listen to me, I shall then have to inflict 7 times more blows on you according to your sins. And I will send wild beasts of the field among you, and they will certainly bereave you of children, and cut off your domestic animals, and reduce the number of you, and your roads will actually be desolate. Nevertheless, if these things you do not let yourselves be corrected by me, and you just have to walk in opposition to me, I shall then have to walk in opposition to you. And I, even I, shall have to strike you 7 times for your sins. And I shall, look at this 7 times again. And I shall certainly bring upon you a sword wreaking vengeance for my covenant. And you will indeed gather yourselves in your cities, and I shall certainly send pestilence into the midst of you, and you must be given into the hand of the enemy. When I have broken for you the rods around which ring-shaped loaves are suspended, 10 women will be actually bake your bread in but one oven, and give back your bread by weight, and you must eat, but you will not be satisfied. If, however, with this you will not listen to me, and you just must walk in opposition to me, I shall then have to walk in heated opposition to you, and I shall have to chastise you 7 times for your sins. So you will have to eat the flesh of your sons, and you will eat the flesh of your daughters. And I shall certainly annihilate your sacred high places, and cut off your incense stands, and lay your own carcasses upon the carcass of your dungy idols. And my soul will simply abhor you. And I shall indeed give your cities to the sword, and lay your sanctuaries desolate, and I shall not smell your restful odors. These verses are speaking to me right now. When all the pain and suffering that the minority communities have felt, and they're releasing that into the United States, and people are choosing to ignore it and just focus on private property instead of what has caused this. I think it's a sign, man. Because look at this. Put your cities to the sword. What's happening right now is people are going at each other's throats because some privileged people really, they entertain themselves and stuff their faces with food and totally ignore the oppression and tyranny that others are feeling in certain communities. And it's almost like we've ignored it, and then bam. I think God is like, well, okay, you're going to systematically ignore these people and allow their abuse and oppression. Here you go. Wow. And I, for my part, will lay the land desolate, and your enemies who are dwelling in it will simply stare in amazement over it. And you and I shall scatter among the nations, and I will unsheath a sword after you. And your land must come a desolation, and your cities will become a desolate ruin. Wow, this is very interesting. I get it that they was talking about back then, but this is definitely something happening right now. At that time the land will pay off its Sabbaths all the days of its lying desolate, while you are in the land of your enemies. At that time the land will keep Sabbath, as it must repay its Sabbaths. All the days of its lying desolate it will keep Sabbath, for the reason that it did not keep Sabbath during your Sabbath when you were dwelling upon it. Well, kind of like how the virus is making everyone really pray again, right? You're stuck at home, you're gonna pray. As for those remaining among you, I shall certainly bring timidity into their hearts and to the lands of their enemies. And the sound of the leaf driven out will indeed chase them away, and they will actually flee as in flight from a sword, and fall without anyone chasing. And they will certainly stumble against one another as if from before a sword, without anyone chasing. And for you there will prove to be no ability to stand in resistance before your enemies. And you must perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies must eat you up. Oh, and you... As for those remaining among you, they will rot away because of their error in the land of your enemies. Yes, even because of the errors of their fathers, with them they will rot away, and they will certainly confess their own error and the error of their fathers and their unfaithfulness when they behaved unfaithfully toward me. Yes, even when they walked in opposition to me. Yet I, for my part, proceeded to walk in opposition to them, and I had to bring them into the land of their enemies. Perhaps at that time their uncircumcised heart will be humbled. At that time they will pay off their error. This is very interesting because we neglect our people today, and now the world has seen the rotting decay that we hide on the streets and push into the ghettos. But now the secrets are revealed. The union laid bare. The fractured union, that is. Wow, it's very interesting, man. Really got me thinking.